Hi, everyone, and welcome to another round of the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. I'm JB at the desk, setting things up in the pitching machine for the one, the only Charley Steiner joining us from Los Angeles. Charlie, it's always a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you, JB. Good to see you.
The fans are fired up as social media is a blur with questions. I will do the best to read them, and then fans, as you know, get the MLB Fans app fired up. Join us, do some work, be a part of the show, get FaceTime with Charlie yourself. Meanwhile, hashtag Chatting Cage is how I'll get to it on Twitter. Let's go to the MLB Fans app. I like this one to get us going because to see how Charlie is a fan of baseball. This is from ChapBan99. Who's your favorite player currently playing, Charlie?
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, somebody who's really been a pleasant surprise for me. I've watched him play over the last 15 years, but didn't get a chance to watch him play every single day. Chase Utley. We saw Utley, a half a dozen, 10 times a year over the last dozen years I've been with the Dodgers. He was always a terrific player in those great Philly teams. He's 37 years old now. He's come out here, and he is just a whale of a player. He doesn't take a single pitch off. He made a spectacular play last night from the face down, behind the back throw to Gonzalez. One of the great plays I've seen in years. But above and beyond the play, this is a guy who does not take a single pitch off. I guess he's probably my favorite player now.
That's outstanding. Look at that. A nice little surprise still late in the season and in the career. That's how it goes, folks. Get your questions in here. Get your device fired up. Join us. Get some answers from Charley Steiner because I know you want them. I know I do. That's why we're here. There's a fan ready to fire it up. What's your name? What's your question for Charlie?
I'm David.
Hello, David.
How you doing, Charlie?
Good.
I'm actually sitting here streaming the game you were just talking about. I saw that great play by Utley where he flipped it to Gonzalez. But my question is...
the likes of which I've never seen. It was a tremendous play.
Yeah, they should have replayed it like 20 more times. But who are since Vin Scully's about to retire, who are some of your other announcing heroes? Because he's one of a kind.
Well, yeah, he is. I'm old enough that the very first game I ever saw in person was at Ebbets Field. The first time I listened to Vin on the radio, I was 7 years old. My mom had a radio about this big in a kitchen that was about this big. And I was mesmerized, and the first time I heard the crack of the bat, the crowd cheering, an umpire bellowing strike, and they're hawking peanuts, popcorn, and Cracker Jack, there was this one overarching voice, and it was Vin's. And so when I was 7 years old, I knew exactly what I wanted to be when I grew up, and that was a Dodger announcer. And a year later, they moved. But somehow we persevered. And again, for me, this has been a childhood dream, and being out here tonight to honor Vin before the game is really one of the thrills of my career. So Vin is the guy. John Miller is a dear friend, and again, you talk about the Dodger-Giant rivalry. Nonsense. We're friends. I can't wait to see John and Kipe and Kruk and Dave Fleming. There's so many. It's one of those, I don't want to leave anybody out. But clearly Vin has been the guy that I've essentially idolized since I was a child.
All right, let me jump right into it because I don't want to trip over the question. So let's get right to the EDJ question of the day then, Charlie. What do you think is Vin Scully's best call?
In fact, I'm going to talk about it tonight. I think the Gibson home run call, it's only 19 words and separated by 5 seconds. High fly ball deep to right, she's gone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In a year that's been so improbable, the impossible has happened. So you have two parts to that call. If you leave it alone at the first half, it's brilliant. And then he lays out just in the nick of time, 5 seconds, so we can kind of drink all that moment in. And then he comes back with that line, the impossible dream. It was, it's one of those, I think most of us in our business tend to genuflect at the throne of that call.
That really is. It's remarkable, and there's no question with this, Charlie. I just follow up with it as best I can. His mastery of language in the moment to tell stories in a way that just capture essentially what is happening is unbelievable.
You know what? In our business, us mere mortals, we're sprinting like hell to try to keep up with a story. We're painting the picture as best as we can, and we're sprinting up a sand dune, and sometimes we get to the top. Vin, on the other hand, is this poet that somehow the game comes to him so that he's able to tell the stories and above and beyond, use the words, have a vocabulary the likes of which nobody else in our business has. He's the Babe Ruth of our business, and I make no apologies in saying that.
None necessary at all as we approach his final game there at Dodger Stadium Sunday. Be on the MLB Network. It'll be a thrilling thing. A young fan checks in. Let's see what his question is. And what's your question for Charlie?
Hi, Charlie. My name's PJ.
Hi there.
Coming from a hopeful MLB announcer one day, what have you done throughout your career to get yourself here?
Well, again, it begins with the fact that I listened to Vin when I was 7 years old, and I knew what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be. As soon as I got to college, Bradley University, a long time ago, the first thing I did was walk into the college radio station and say, "Hi, folks, I'm going to be here a while." And I was. And I worked at that time from one small local radio station to the next. Peoria, Illinois, Davenport, Iowa, New Haven, Hartford, Cleveland, went to New York, then went to ESPN for 14 years. And after ESPN, the Yankees hired me for 3 seasons, and the team that I always wanted to broadcast growing up was the Dodgers, who then made me an offer. So what I did, I made myself available. Hey, would you like to come work for us? And thankfully, more times than not, it worked out that way. But my advice to you is to get as close as you can to radio stations, television stations. If it means sweeping up the floors after midnight, so be it. At least you've got your foot in the door.
Excellent advice from a man who has made quite a career and is incredibly talented. PJ, pay attention to that. It is no joke. Follow your passion, but follow the opportunity as well. An essential part of what that whole track is there. This is the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. That's Charley Steiner. I'm JB. We're having a great conversation here. Get your device fired up or hashtag Chatting Cage, and I will read the question from Twitter like I'm about to do. You mentioned the Yankees there, Charlie. Jesse, 54 runner, wants to know this. What was the most memorable game you called while with that club, while with the Yankees?
Well, for me, it was Aaron Boone's walk-off home run to win the 2003 American League Championship Series against the Red Sox. That was at the height of the Yankee-Red Sox rivalry. In 2003, 2004, the two teams played 26 times, 19 games during the regular season, 7 games in each of the postseasons. And in 2003, one pitch separated the Yankees and the Red Sox, and Aaron Boone's home run off Tim Wakefield in the 11th inning, which that's a call that has some shelf life, and I guess that's the game and that moment that I remember most from New York.
That certainly was a moment. Fans of New York and sports fans in general certainly remember the moment. It was a thrilling time there, and one of the great seasons covered there by Charley Steiner, and well called as well. Fans, get your device fired up like this fan and join us. What's your name and what's your question for Charlie?
Hi, my name is Mauricio Palmer from Arnold, Maryland, and I was wondering what you like about working with Vin Scully.
All right.
Hi.
What I like about working with Vin Scully, pretty near everything. One of the joys I have had in my 12 years here and working with Rick Monday is that Rick and Vin and I have dinner every night before every game, about an hour and 15 minutes, just 3 old chums sitting around the table talking, watching TV, talking about the traffic, talking about last night's game, the upcoming game. And again, for me, the kid who was 7 years old who wanted to be like him when I grew up, now I'm having dinner with him every night. It's a bittersweet night tonight, primarily because this is the last go-round. For years, it had been theory that someday Vin would actually retire. Well, theory is now fact, and it's getting closer and closer.
It is remarkable to consider that we're now in that the sort of final stretch of a career like that. And as you said, Charlie, he's going out on his terms. Would you say it's at the peak of a game? Like he has not sagged. I think that might be the most staggering part of it.
One of the things that I find remarkable about Vin is that he's always in control, whether it's a broadcast, away from a broadcast. And so he kind of planned this year out, and it couldn't have been planned out any better. He's ready to go home. 67 years, all with one team. You know, he has broadcast more than half the games the Dodgers have ever played dating back to 1890. When the Dodgers entered the National League in 1890, 126 years ago, he's been working 67 years. More than half the games that the Dodgers have ever played have been announced by Vin.
That is remarkable. When you talk about a franchise that's actually had a voice so clearly for so long, that is truly, truly remarkable. I go back to social media now, and I like this one because let's get a little bit about the players as well. John_Statesman wants to know, how would you compare Clayton Kershaw to other pitchers you've covered throughout your career?
I've been very lucky. I covered Ron Guidry, Dwight Gooden, Clayton he's in that very exclusive company. His strikeout to walk ratio this year it's like a typographical error. 155 strikeouts and 9 walks. And if there's a guy that you want pitching in a big game, he's the guy. So Kershaw is up there with all of them.
It's just remarkable. It's well said as well that it seems like a typo, a collective reference typo that we maybe did here at MLB.com to recheck those stats to make sure that strikeout to walk ratio is actually correct. A fan steps in to ask his question. What's your name? What's your question for Charlie?
What's up, Charlie? Carlos here from LA. Big Dodger fan here. My question to you, do you think the Dodgers are going to be able to clinch the division at home this weekend?
Wouldn't that be nice? If I knew that, I wouldn't be working in Los Angeles. I'd be working in Vegas.
That's the strong, simple answer from Charley Steiner. Do you have a feeling?
You know, that's why they play the games. That's why they play the games. And wouldn't it be wonderful if they did clinch in the final weekend of Vin broadcasting here at Dodger Stadium? You know, there'd be a lovely harmonic convergence, don't you think?
Well, if Vin is, I mean, it seems right. I mean, I don't want to say Vin's that powerful, but it seems like Vin might be that powerful.
Close.
He's close.
He's close.
You can't make it happen. But if they want it to happen for somebody, that would be it. Let's go back to social media. I'll go back to @P Rogers Planters. So we've talked about Vin a lot. We've talked about yourself. Let's talk about your partner. What's it like having Rick Monday as your broadcast partner? What makes him? I like this one. What makes him unique?
I have such a good time with Mo. He's a couple of years older than I am. He played 19 seasons in the big leagues. He is such a smart guy. He didn't hang around Major League Baseball as a player for 19 seasons by accident. He knows the game extremely well. And we just get along. You know, one of the things when you have a partner like Mo, we're on the air together about 650 to 700 hours every summer. That means we're together in the booth about 4 or 5 hours. We'll have a bite to eat. And then we get on the plane and we sit next to one another. And so it's kind of a marriage. And having a good friend be right next to me and me next to him, it makes whatever we have work.
Well said. And a heck of a team and a lovely marriage, I would have to say that. It's good. It's working out nicely. You guys are in good shape. If you need counseling at any point, you guys don't hesitate to call or email. Good with that stuff. Charlie, I know you're busy today. It's a huge weekend. I love this one. It puts the pressure to you. We've talked about eloquence and poeticism. My socks are white wants to know this. In one word, describe Vin Scully.
One word.
One word.
Eloquent.
There you have it. I think that really is an eloquent answer to a very tough question, to put all that greatness in one word. He's been remarkable. Is there anything? I don't even know.
He has been the Babe Ruth of our industry. Yeah, you can argue all you want who the best local announcer was, whether it's Ernie Harwell in Detroit, Harry Carey in Chicago, Harry Callis in Philadelphia, on and on. But there's one guy. There's one above the rest, and he's going to retire a week from Sunday. And tonight we honor him here at Dodger Stadium.
It should be great when everybody catch up with that. Charlie, did you have a good time talking to the fans about all this goodness?
How could I not? I'm only human.
You are, but you're an exceptional human, and we appreciate your time. I thank you, Charley Steiner, for being with us.
Thanks, JB.
Always a pleasure. I thank you, fans, as always, for making my job oh so simple. Please keep it up on the next round of the Edward Jones Chatting Cage.